So what's going on with our planet at the moment? We got volcanoes erupting near large population centers, along with the earthquakes in major cities. Monsoons disappeared across India. Disruption in the Pacific as two typhoons start to mesh in on themselves. We got electric sprites above the electrical activity and thunderstorms in the Midwest grow belt. We got the heat dome over Europe destroying crops. And nobody's talking about the food price as it's going to creep up as we move through the summer. Starting off here, Tambora, Sumbawa Island in Indonesia, 1815 erupts. Year without a summer, crops lost across, well, the entire planet for multiple years. Famine ensues. Not rumbling there yet, but Kamchatka. This took us up around 70,000 feet, and you can see once it starts to hit the mesospheric levels up there where it starts to flatten out. Hungatonga punched through that and went a little bit higher, but so far this seems to be peaking out around 70,000 feet. Add more ash into the atmosphere. Different view, same phenomenon, wider view from the highway here. You can see at the very top boundary layer there, that's pushing up through an actual different layer of the atmosphere upward. Very visually distinct here on what's happening. Now how this ash is going to circulate around the world. Kilauea giving us another display. I think it's the 49th since the eruptive activity began. That's just going to continue in earnest. As the pressurization from the crust, oh wait, tectonic activity accompanying all of this. You need to ask, what's happening with the magnetic field of the planet? This occurring just in a matter of days with that 7.2, 7.5, and that's disputed on what the actual magnitude was. You got the Philippines, which had the previous 7.6 just a week earlier, in Japan almost a 7.0, and it's just rocking everywhere across these plate boundaries. So just to catch you up on what's happening in Venezuela, the amount of buildings that had fallen down is staggering beyond belief. I mean, these just literally pancake down, building after building after building. You have to wonder which contracts were given by which leaders before of their family members that didn't build these to code. Before and after for you here, yellow building is kind of your target, what you're looking at. And to the right and the left of that, if you notice, those buildings are gone, they've fallen down. And a bit closer in with better resolution, and you can see that the yellow building itself is collapsing, but everything else around it is also. So who was involved with all these coastal development projects should be the question. And as you just head down the coast, look at the bottom floors of all these buildings almost sandwiched down and collapsing. Not quite, but the bottom floors are unlivable, so these entire buildings are going to have to be demolished. The ones that already fell down, I feel sorry for those people inside. They lost their homes, and if they're inside, passed on to the next world. But this is just incredible amount of devastation here. Got a before and after of the helicopters finally getting over there. So this is what it looked like pre-earthquake and post-earthquake. I would say, well over half the buildings have collapsed in this photo. And the other ones as well, you can see the structural damage on that. Those are going to be uninhabitable. So everything in this picture pretty much needs to be demolished and then rebuilt. I mean, that's a massive project. But on the ground, looking back at some of these same images here, you can see where the top floors collapsed in on themselves, and that's what the remnants are of a half collapsed building that didn't fall all the way over. And it's just hundreds and hundreds of these shots of these buildings, mid to high rise size, that did collapse in on themselves. I'm talking hundreds of these buildings. Then if we get into the residential 2-3 floors, even this, which you thought would almost be impervious to that type of damage on a quake, just falling over, toppling over. This is substandard building. And again, it would bring you back to the question of who got these contracts to build this. Now, another scary thing I want to bring you up to, notice the sofa on the edge of the wall there that collapsed and caved away. Can you imagine being on that sofa and that entire wall fall away, and you're multiple floors up on this entire building that's shaking and moving?
Unlike most olive oils on the market, Kasandrinos is single source, organic, cold pressed from family owned groves in Greece. Never blended, not mass produced, not sitting on shelves forever, and every single batch is lab tested for polyphenol content. Farm to table, from their orchards to your kitchen. As soon as they pick these olives, literally within hours, they cold press them so you get peak flavor and health benefits. 100% single origin, organic extra virgin olive oil. That's what you want. Which offers a unique blend of potent vitamins that support immune, bone, and heart health without capsules or fillers. And the Mediterranean diet, you've heard about this for centuries. And the benefits of long-term wellness. From the family-owned olive groves in Laconia, Greece, straight to your taste buds. We should be supporting this type of business, family businesses producing clean foods that can get it to you directly. This should be the new business model for the entire planet. You should know your farmers. We need to have local producers that produce clean foods for us. The corporate chain, this isn't doing it anymore. So please support families and businesses just like this. That link's in the description box below, and it's going to be some of the best olive oil you've ever had in your entire life. Head over to Kasandrinos.com/David to put your order in there, or you can just simply click on that link in the description box below.
How about the rooms here? The entire wall fell away and there's somebody's closet. I mean, these buildings are just, they're completely gone. This is an example of almost every high-rise that's across the entire region at the moment. This is hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars of reconstruction that needs to be done. Let me bring back to this quake map real quick. Notice where the plate boundaries are, and that highlighted orange along the coastal areas, that's where the plates are moving against each other. So I would ask the next question, okay, this pressure release was massive. So that pressure released area A, but where's the pressure now building in a new area that is now that pinch point that has gained an enormous amount of pressure on the plates that is going to release next into these 7.0 quakes? Somewhere of that large of a release pinched on another zone here. Is it the new Madrid Fault Zone? Almost directly north of where this is. And if we look at some of these longer duration quakes, you go back to San Francisco, it's in 1903. Go back to the new Madrid Fault Zone earthquake, that's 1812. You go back over to South Carolina, 1781, something like this. Some of these faults haven't gone off because maybe the pressure was released and it's on a 200-year cycle. And that eventually that Rubik's Cube of loosening, tightening, loosening, pinching comes back to a specific area again that's not widely in what you would consider one of those, it's not as well known as the San Andreas Fault. One set of 8.0, 8.8, 8.0, 7.9 earthquakes, almost 200 years ago. So where does that leave us now? And really, we should be taking a greater look at this, because if the earthquakes come to the new Madrid Fault Zone again, and we lose the bridges and rail lines across the Mississippi, along with the pipelines that deliver our natural gas and fuels from Cushing, there's no way the East Coast of the United States is going to survive that. The economic meltdown would be nearly instantaneous. Like, these are real issues to take a look at. If there's another gigantic earthquake, say in San Francisco or Los Angeles, those are some of our major ports are coming in. Like, do we have backups to these, or is anybody discussing this type of, mass devastation that is pushing pressure somewhere else now? We're in a totally different world of population zones where these previous quakes 100 or 200 years ago, if they come back today, or if this causes a buildup of pressure and the Cascadian network of volcanoes starts to go off in those population centers, the insurance industries won't survive that. And then what do we do? The economy is fragile anyway. So just put it out there for food for thought. And with the talk of destruction around the planet, a moment of zen for those who want to unwind the mind with the beauty of nature. Bringing you back here to the globe again, we're taking a look at the Pacific. Australia at the bottom there in that 6 o'clock position almost. I'm going to bring you up to the two typhoons that you see, those two circular cloud masses right there. These two are going to combine south of Honshu Island in Japan. Rare in itself. Usually they cavitate and they'll keep the distance. The Fujiwara effect. They'll get next to each other. They'll follow. They'll bounce around each other. But for them to combine and roll in on each other, that's a rare one. So here's your two typhoons that are going to be combining over the next couple of days. And as they do, they are going to, well, roll off north and head up toward the Kamchatka Peninsula. You see the clouds already starting to take shape there, but I noticed of the interest, it looks like that yin-yang shape far out, that jet going, that is an atmospheric river that is heading over to and shall start pounding onto California. But it's just rare that these two typhoons come together. And then even more rare is that same Philippines earthquake that uplifted the entire coral reef from 6 to 12 feet. Now it's totally bone dry. You got the picture of the eel right in the front there. So everywhere we look across the planet, there's very, very unusual things happening. And back to the atmosphere again. And the main takeaway from here is Indian subcontinent affected by this lack of rain, which is going to absolutely cut their food production. We got the heat dome over Europe. We got the drought in America. So they're saying the Arabian Sea has gone silent with the absence of the Somalian jet, which actually is the provider of that moisture that then fuels in and drives the Indian monsoon, i.e. rice production, crop production. Way late on they can usually time this thing down pretty well. So if you're looking at the onset here, we are in summer, so you're looking at that red arrows, how it moves all that moisture up into like Orissa and Kerala, off to the west there, and then it bunches up around the Himalaya and it locks in and it just rains out all over the different crops that are being grown up in there. Monsoon rains 43% below average, which means massive famines coming into India. And this type of devastating drought, I mean, look what's happening in America. Knocked our wheat crop down some 30% with the drought. They're on a 43% moisture reduction. Can you imagine the reduction in rice? What's going to happen with their food prices and availability? You know, they've already gone to the point of stopping the export of sugar because they were having so much difficulty, growing it, and then the prices were running away to the point of civil unrest. And I'd done that report right after the Strait of Hormuz got closed, that India had run out of polypropylene woven grain sacks, and they had no way to pack the rice to get it to market. And one of their huge disruptions, they had the rice sitting there, but they couldn't get it to market because they didn't have the proper packing for the bags to get it there. And then they had to retool some of their delivery systems to take trucks to go out with scales and armed guards and cash people and literally rock up into a town and have people wait in line. But before, you just went into a supermarket and bought it. But they didn't have the bags to pack it into the correct weights and put it in the supermarket. And that created its own set of just difficulties when the rice was there. Now they're lean on rice, they're lean on the sugar, stop the exports of that. And now they're coming into a mega drought. Oh, this is huge, huge news right there. And for what not to do in India, when a landslide comes down, yeah, you shouldn't be that close anyway, but just to hide behind a motorcycle and you think that's going to protect you, get a little more caution when the landslides come down. And here's what we're looking at across the Midwest Grow Belt. These massive electrical fronts are coming in now with these shelf clouds. I mean, mesmerizing, that is in itself. But what you see in front of you is what you should be looking at from a distance, what's above that. These electrical sprites, the red jets, either term can be swapped, but this was a thing of lore once before. And I do believe the ancients had seen this because they scrolled it and etched it on canyon walls in different forms. When this becomes much more energized, it takes on different shapes. Now this is becoming almost human-like. Rods from God. We see this through the Greek mythos. And the Romans, and back to the Phoenicians and the Assyrians. Everybody has their gods carrying these perceived lightning bolts. That is what you're looking at. India as well. So something through our past. This must come in a cycle of higher electrical activity where these things really hold state, and they're like, wow, this is in the skies all the time. And legends had formed around these things themselves. And for my following of this, when I first started working on the channel by 2014 or so, they were very much smaller than they are today. For me, just as an observer of this, These are becoming more intense, longer lasting in the atmosphere, and much larger in the amount of them. Before 5, 6, but not 20, 30 in a row, holding state, turning into bulbous figures. Before, they would be just sticks, basically, with a little bit of discharge tendril on the bottom. Nothing like that. That is literally orders of magnitude above what it was like 10, 15 years ago. If it continues like this, another 15 years from now, you're going to see these mythical figures on canyon walls just walk straight off and be in front of you and above these thunderheads as they roll through. Something's definitely changed on our planet. There's something significantly different. Everybody's feeling it. You can feel like there's just like a skittishness in the air. I think it all has something to do, and this is one giant set of change that we're rolling into, including the economy, where you're going to procure your food, where are you going to buy your food, how are you going to find your food. All this is changing. And then, lo and behold, the crop loss is coming out already. The damage is just biblical with the heat at this early maturation point of the crops. After emergence, coming into the first onset of growth that's going to push into the grain heads, and this heat is withering the plants, and some of them just aren't coming back. This heat dome, the longer it stays around, the more damage those plants become. They're not ready for this heat yet. Give them another month or two, and they would be, but this early stage right now, they need that water and they're not getting it. And we can say the same thing with the United States and our grow belt. I mean, the wheat crop's pretty much a write-off. You're going to watch wheat prices start to head up as we get into the crop tours. Coming up, July is going to be the first major crop tours where all the universities and all the institutions go around and do the forecast. Now, corn could be, it's going to be a juggling match to see if it's good or bad, but just wheat across the board, negative. Winter wheat crop didn't come in that well either, so now we're just moving into like what you consider more summer types of produce and wheat coming out. The sorghum's not doing too well, although it was really low planting in sorghum anyway over the years. I think they were at a 100-year low last year and the year before. Significant reductions in yield, and now Indian monsoon doesn't show up. This is almost impossible, the set of circumstances that we're looking at here in terms of how much it's going to affect crop production. And now it's starting to get into our population centers here, these natural events, the volcanoes, the earthquakes, the hail events, the heavy winds, dust storms, all these sort of things that are blowing all over the place. I would encourage you to look back in the past and try to figure out what is happening currently and how you can protect yourself best. Because we're all in this together. I try to dissect it and put mini reports together here on Subscribestar and Patreon/Adapt2030. Please join me over there. I did a little something on the earthquakes today with better graphs and charts that I didn't include here. But with that being said, I appreciate your time so much. Thank you for being here. Please remember to subscribe, click that notification bell, share with your friends and family. Feel free to cut the video up, turn it into shorts, share it out there. We need these answers, like why is this happening? How much more intense is it going to get? How will it affect us, and where's the food price going? Because the food is the bedrock of our civilization. If we don't have food, we don't have a civilization. There's no reason for money if we don't have the food, because at that point, the money is truly worthless, because if you can't move because you're too malnourished, then economic activity is at zero. See, that's what a lot of people aren't getting. The calorie is the most important energy unit on the planet. It's not natural gas and it's not oil. It's calories from food, not BTUs. Until next time, bye for now.